Hello, I'm Susan Woods of Susan Woods Nonprofit Solutions, and I thank you for your time. I am inviting you to enroll in a free webinar that I am hosting on Monday, May the 5th, 2025. Again, I'm inviting you to attend a free Zoom webinar, live webinar that I am hosting on May the 5th, 2025. The name of the webinar is Helping Nonprofits Survive and Thrive in Turbulent Times. Again, the name is Helping Nonprofits Survive and Thrive in Turbulent Times. As I'm sure you have been hearing in the news on or reading online about how the federal government cuts and grant funding are negatively impacting grassroots nonprofit organizations. I'm sure you've heard about that. And I want to host this free webinar to share some strategies that nonprofit leaders can easily implement to still be able to survive and thrive in turbulent times. The times for the webinars, I'm offering 3 times in which you can enroll. You can attend 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, or 6 p.m. Eastern Time. 10, 2, and 6 p.m. Eastern Time are the times that I am facilitating this free webinar live. And I'll tell you more about that in this presentation. But let me tell you more about what, or the rationale rather, for offering this free webinar on Monday, May the 5th. Nonprofit leaders are facing unprecedented challenges due to federal government grant funding cuts. However, your mission does not have to suffer as a consequence of the funding cuts. About the webinar. The purpose of this webinar is to share 5 nonprofit survival strategies that you can implement easily to help your nonprofit thrive in the middle of funding cuts and uncertainty. This webinar is your space to regroup, focus, vent if you need to, and then confidently move forward. I hope that we have a group of people participating in the webinar who are nonprofit leaders, nonprofit founders, or people who work in the nonprofit sector, or even people who may not work in the nonprofit sector but are very concerned about what's going on in the nonprofit sector. I would like to invite you to participate in this free 90-minute webinar. We're going to talk about the 5 strategies that help you keep going during these turbulent times. For example, the first strategy I'm going to talk about in the webinar is complete a SWOT analysis. You will learn how to evaluate the internal strengths and weaknesses of your nonprofit. And then you will also learn how to identify the external opportunities and threats to your nonprofit. So that's strategy number 1 of 5 that I'm going to talk about in the webinar. Strategy number 2 of 5 is diversify your revenues. We're going to talk about how to diversify your revenue stream. You will learn how to create different revenue streams for your nonprofit so that you do not have to rely on one revenue source. We should never rely on one revenue source. However, I can't scold people for relying on the federal government because that has been a reliable source for a lot of nonprofits for decades. So you can't really scold a nonprofit leader for relying on the federal government, but this is a lesson for all of us who have nonprofit organizations that we should never rely on one funding source. So, in strategy number 2 of 5, I'm going to talk about some other ways that you can generate revenues for your nonprofit. Strategy number 3 of 5 is cultivate relationships. You will learn how to cultivate relationships with your nonprofit's investors to guarantee more revenues in the future. Unfortunately, we sometimes take our investors or people who donate not money to our nonprofits for granted. And that's unfortunate because these are the people who have expressed a desire to support us by giving us or giving donations to your nonprofit organization. So, in this strategy, 3 of 5, I'm going to talk about ways you can deepen those relationships with the people who have supported you in the past. Strategy number 4 of 5 is analyze program services. We will learn how to take a step back to analyze the services that you currently offer through the nonprofit organization to separate the must haves from the nice to haves. You see, there may be some areas in your program services that are things that are nice to have or nice to provide to the community, but that you don't have to provide to the community. And we're going to learn how to separate the two. And then strategy number 5 of 5, adhere to IRS compliance rules. The IRS provides an entire booklet, a booklet for 501c3 nonprofit leaders to use that includes the rules and regulations they must follow to operate a nonprofit. And in this strategy number 5 of 5, you will learn how to adhere to the relevant IRS compliance rules regarding governance and financial transparency and accountability. So, those are the strategies. Strategy 1, complete a SWOT analysis. 2, diversify your revenues. 3, cultivate relationships. 4, analyze program services. And 5, adhere to IRS compliance rules. Now, the free webinar is 90 minutes. So I have reserved time at the end of my presentation for you to ask questions, to express your concerns, to ask for ideas from other people who may be participating in the webinar. I have time left at the end so that you can be engaged in this webinar in a way that would benefit you. Here are the registration options. You can choose from 3 enrollment options to attend the free 90-minute Zoom webinar on Monday, May the 5th, 2025. I'm offering this webinar at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. That's on the East Coast. I'm in South Carolina. 2 p.m. Eastern Time or 6 p.m. Eastern Time. So you get to choose between 3 of these options to enroll in the free webinar. You can scan the QR code here. Once you scan the QR code, it will take you to the registration page that you can choose to use to register and the time that you want to participate in the Zoom call. Again, I'm Susan Woods, and I am your webinar facilitator. I started a nonprofit organization myself called Comprehensive Community-Based Solutions all the way back in 2003. I offer nonprofit consulting services. I have earned 3 nonprofit management certificates, and I'm a 3-time graduate of Winthrop University. So I bring to the table not only educational credentials that pertain to operating nonprofit organizations, but I think more importantly, I bring practical experience to the table because I have, again, like I said, I created a nonprofit organization all the way back in 2003. It's a charitable nonprofit. But in 2023, 20 years later, I created another 501c3 nonprofit organization, which was a foundation, or which is a foundation, and it's called the Rebuild Clio, CLIO, Economic Development Foundation, to raise money to provide services in my hometown of Clio, South Carolina. I haven't added that to this slide yet. So I'm bringing to you experience. I'm bringing to you also the fact that I know how it feels to operate a nonprofit organization and wonder where you're going to get the financial resources to provide the services that you've promised the community. So with these government funding cuts, I can certainly empathize with nonprofit leaders who are experiencing cuts and wondering how they're going to continue operating. So, again, I look forward to you enrolling in one of the three sessions that I'm teaching or facilitating on Monday, May the 5th. It's a free 90-minute webinar. We're going to talk about the 5 strategies that I just shared in more detail. You have an opportunity to ask questions, to express your concerns. This is an opportunity for you to gain some more knowledge around how to keep going, how to thrive in turbulent times. Thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to your registration on Monday. I provide additional information, by the way, in the description with more links that you can use if you don't want to scan. I have a link to register in the description, and I've also pinned the link to register in the comments. Thank you for your time, and have a great day.